welcome to Shell Point Today for Thursday, October 20th. I'm Mary Kay Grimaldi.
And I'm Rich Nation. On today's show, the pros at FineMark National Bank and Trust will talk about negotiating checks, and we'll be bringing you a few highlights from last week's Kaleidoscope concert at the Village Church.
But first, we want to remind you about a great lunch outing in Estero. It's called Flippers on the Back Bay. Named the best waterfront restaurant on the island, this casual, laid-back dining spot has exceptional cuisine, flavorful spices, and perfectly cooked accompaniments. Court pickups begin on the island at 10:30 a.m., and the cost of the outing is $7 with lunch on your own. Make sure you sign up at either service desk.
After returning from your lunch outing, you might want to swing by the Woodlands Commons on the second floor later that evening. Organist Ned Spain will be there to perform Broadway show music, some old standards, and familiar hymns. Light refreshments will be served at 5:30 with the music beginning at 6 p.m.
Looking ahead to Monday, it's time for the Hats Off to the Holidays fashion show. The brand new club at Shell Point will be the location for this dazzling event. Here come some very important people to visit the club right now. This fashion show will highlight beautiful clothing offered for sale at Shell Point's community thrift store. Those attending will enjoy a grilled chicken salad and a fabulous dessert prepared by Executive Chef Richard Brown of the clubs. You'll enjoy seeing residents and staff as they model holiday-themed outfits. Then browse for clothing and accessories available for sale after the show. For those who have already signed up for this sold-out event, the cost is $15 per person.
And now let's hear from the pros at FineMark National Bank and Trust on the island. They are here today to talk about the importance of cashing or depositing checks and to clear up the confusion that often takes place. They'll speak about some of the issues and situations that you might want to be aware of the next time you have a check and want to negotiate it.
Hello, I'm Jessica Stilwell, Catti with FineMark National Bank and Trust, and today I'm joined by two of my colleagues, Managing Executive of FineMark on the island, Anna Smith, and Private Wealth Advisor, Dennis Landfried. Thank you both for being here. And today we're going to talk about something that doesn't sound very glamorous, but it's very important, and you have a lot of issues, Anna, at the office about this, and that is negotiating checks, which basically means depositing or cashing checks.
Absolutely.
Why does this get so confusing?
Well, it gets confusing because a client just simply comes into the bank to cash or deposit that check. We, on the other hand, look at that check and we look at how the check is made payable to or to whom. And that's our first clue. And then from there, we're going to look at the supporting documentation behind that check or behind their bank account. And that's going to tell us, okay, we can do what the client wants or we cannot, and here's the reasons why. So the client may not understand that, and sometimes it can be frustrating for them, but we try to work through that and explain to them why we're asking the questions we're asking.
So we're obviously not talking just about a basic check and a basic checking account. We're talking about some different things. So Dennis, let's go through negotiating a check into the name and into an account in the name of a trust, and that can be an issue.
Yeah, so we're really good at getting to know our clients really, really well, but we bank with a lot of clients out here at Shell Point, and some of them might have a checking account with us where they come in and they want to negotiate a check drawn on a trust. Well, if we don't have the supporting documentation on the trust and we don't know how that trust reads, we don't know if they have the authority to be able to negotiate that check. So this could affect beneficiaries that are named in the document, and we don't want to do anything that might be counter to somebody's estate plan. So having more information in these situations is better, so that we can review the document, see what type of authority they have, and kind of go from there.
And we should say these aren't FineMark rules. These are federal rules.
right.
So
Correct.
we,
That's
we
correct.
have to follow them. It's
Right.
not,
That's right.
It's not something that we could let just, skim by this
We're
one.
not trying to be difficult.
No, absolutely. Let's talk about joint titling. Do you want to take that one, Anna?
Sure. So joint titling simply means an account held in the name of 2 or more individuals, and they own it joint, typically with right of survivorship. So really, either person can transact on the account, and it only takes one of them to transact on that account. However, if they come in with a check that's made payable to the both of them, so the word "and" appears in that, and they're wanting to cash that check, well, unfortunately, I can't do that for them. I need the other party there as well.
So you need both parties.
We need both because the word "and" says it all. Now, if it said "or," on the other hand, it wouldn't make a difference to me. So that can become frustrating as well. So what we try to do is to offer a solution to that real quickly and say, I can deposit that check for you, and then I can give you some cash.
Okay.
So that, again, we bring the frustration level down, we still accomplish what they wanted, but maybe in a different way.
Okay, Dennis, let's talk about beneficiary designations.
Yeah, so so beneficiary designations that are tied to accounts can really help us solve the issue. So in many instances, clients will come in and they want to add one of their kids to their checking account. And it's in the name of a trust, and their child does not have trustee authority in that trust, so we can't add them because the document really dictates what we can do. So the solution to that would be opening the account in the individual name, adding the child as a signer, and then putting a beneficiary designation like a payable on death to the trust, so that it still goes to the trust and the estate plan is completed, but you're adding the child on as a signer.
And just to add to that, sometimes the client will say, well, my account has all of my pre-authorized credits and withdrawals running through it. How am I going to possibly open another account? Well, a secondary solution is we'll simply retitle the account, take it out of the name of the trust with simple retitling, add their child on as an authorized signer, and we can still accomplish what the estate plan has by making the pay on death beneficiary the trust.
So I think to wrap this up, the moral of the story is it can be very complicated.
Yes.
It can be very frustrating and confusing. But if our clients walk in knowing that we're going to do the best that we can to do the right thing, that's good. And you'll walk through these different solutions and
Absolutely.
and ideas.
Try to offer something else for them.
Wonderful. Well, thank you both.
you.
And I'm sure that people are going to have questions. And Anna, I think maybe a good idea too would be to call if you had a question
Yes.
before you came in, just to not be frustrated about making that trip if you don't have everything
And
you need.
also just to give them the time that they need and for them to feel that it's their time.
Well, great. Thank you so much. If you would like to call Anna, of course, that's 461-5999, 461-5999, or you can stop in at the bank. Either way is great. Thank you both. I'm Jessica Stilwell Catti with FineMark National Bank and Trust. Have a great day.
The annual Kaleidoscope concert took place last week at the Village Church. It was a big celebration with a kaleidoscope of musical acts. The talented residents and staff, Shell Point singers, and Village Church Choir filled the auditorium with beautiful music. And now we bring you some highlights from the festive evening. Remember also that video DVDs of the concert are available by contacting us here at SPTV.
Try to remember the kind of September when life was slow and oh so mellow. Try to remember the kind
And now it's time to cover all of today's happenings, Academy news, menus, and the Village Church connections.
Hello everyone, and welcome to today's segment of the happenings of Shell Point. I'm Dora Robbins.
And I'm Bev Chandley.
And we're here to tell you about all of today's activities here at Shell Point. We're going to start today off at 7:15 with Bend, Breathe, and Balance, and that's at the Health Club. We have men's golf at 8 o'clock at the Shell Point Golf Club. We also have at 8 o'clock the Pickleball, that's at the game courts on the island. We also have at 8 o'clock round robin tennis, that's at the tennis courts at the Woodlands. At 8:30 we have the Paddlers Club, they're taking off from the kayak storage on the island. We have Shuffleboard at 9:15 at the Shuffleboard courts on the island. At 9:30 we have current events, and that's at the game room at the Woodlands. At 9:30 we have ladies match play at the tennis courts at the Woodlands. We have introduction to beginning line dance at 9:45 at the Health Club. And basic line dancing at 10:15, that's also at the Health Club. At 11 o'clock we have the Suzy queue, and they're going to Rum Runners. Sign up is required. And here's Bev to tell you about this afternoon's activities.
Thank you, Dora. We're going to start at 12:45 with Mah-Jongg being played in the Library Lounge on the island. Now at 1:15 we have the Pumpkin Patch going on at the Social Center on the island. The Butterfly Garden Committee meeting will be at 1:15. That's on the first floor west parlor of King's Crown. Samba the card game will be at 1:15 in the Resident Activity Center. And also at 1:15 we have Spot Play Readers. That stands for Shell Point's own theater. They'll be in the Osprey room on the island. At 1:45 we have a Health Connections class, King's Crown Fun and Fitness. That's at the community room of King's Crown. At 2 o'clock, we have a Health Connections class. This one's entitled Lou Gehrig's Disease. That'll be in the Grand Cypress room of the Woodlands. At 2 o'clock, the Stamp Ministry will be in the Stamp room on the island. And the Computer Club will be in the Manatee room on the island at 2:15. Also at 2:15, GriefShare will be in the chapel of the Village Church. We have Assisted Living Tea and Tour in the dining room of the Springs at 2:30. At 2:30, we have the cantata rehearsal. That'll be at the choir room of the Village Church. At 2:45, we have Ballet Fit. That's in the Health Club on the island. At 3 o'clock, the Springs Bible Study will be held in the private dining room at the Springs. And we have Yoga Fit in the Health Club at 3:45. Now at 4 o'clock, we have a seamstress coming for her weekly visit. That'll be in the Osprey room on the island. And a 4:30 Alcoholics Anonymous meeting will be in the Sabal room of the Woodlands. Pinochle will be played in the Library Lounge on the island at 6:30. And finally and lastly, at 7 o'clock, we have the Trailblazers Bible Study going on in the game room of the Woodlands. Well, thank you for being here today, and we will see you back here again tomorrow.
Hello, I'm Terry Kolath with your Academy information for Thursday. At 10 o'clock, we have Legacy Seminar 02 from our Legacy Foundation, and it's Trust Wars in Estate Planning. This takes place in the Grand Cypress room of the Woodlands, and sign-up is required. At 10:15, we have an iPhone class. Talking is the new typing, continuing in the Manatee room of the island.
Menus for Thursday. In the Crystal Room, the Crystal Platter is beef stew in a bread bowl with fried green beans. For dinner, the special is the Crystal Carving Board for $15.95. The soup of the day is minestrone. In the Island Cafe, the sandwich special is a chili cheeseburger with fries for $7.95. In the Palm Grill, the dinner specials are ribeye with mushroom ragu for $19.95 or fried shrimp for $15.95. All menus are available 24 hours a day at www.shellpoint.net.
Hi, welcome to Village Church Connections. I'm Andy Hawkins, the senior pastor of the Village Church, and I'm pleased to be joined today by Don Pullen, my pastoral colleague at the Village Church. And we're here to talk about the healing service that's coming up this Sunday evening, which happens from time to time in the Village Church. And healing's a really interesting issue, I think, for a lot of people. But I think it's important for us to make sure that we recognize that the Lord does provide for the opportunity for us to be touched in many dimensions of our lives with a healing touch. And that starts really right out of the gate in the Gospels, doesn't it?
It sure does. When Jesus was here on this earth, one of the most significant things that he did as a part of his ministry, was to go about and heal people of their diseases. Not only their diseases, but also some of the other challenges that they faced in their lives as well. Spiritual challenges that they faced during that time.
And the way Jesus did it, it sort of represented a couple of different dimensions of his ministry. Certainly it exemplified the compassion that he had for people. He really did care about their condition, and so he helped them in significant ways. Some people who had been ill for many, many years were then rescued from their particular circumstances. But in addition to that, his healing then validated his own position as the Messiah, as he had God the Son become flesh, and so those healings were supernatural, they were miraculous, and they were very significant in establishing who he was and is in his identity.
It seemed to cause a great commotion, a great stir, a great movement of people wanting to see Jesus wherever he was, whether he was at the lake or whether he was in a mountain or whether he was there at the temple, continually coming to him to participate in this amazing power that he displayed.
Yeah. Now, the interesting part about it, I think, for us is that while that dimension of ministry, of a healing ministry of Jesus happened during his earthly ministry, he provided for the continuation of various dimensions of that ministry after he had died and then was resurrected. And we find, even in the Old Testament, his role and his death for us as actually providing the foundation for our healing.
Yeah, Isaiah says, by his stripes we are healed. And that healing, we would say, not only includes that spiritual healing that we receive from the forgiveness of our sins because of Christ and what he did on the cross, but also the physical healing that we need in our bodies.
That's exactly right. And then, of course, that gets affirmed in the Gospel of Matthew in chapter 8, in which that Isaiah text then is applied to the healing ministry of Jesus, and then by extension to the ministry that we can enjoy now in our lives.
And then James picks it up even further in the epistles and brings it right back into our context today of what happens in the local church, that the healing that Jesus did is available for us in a particular way, but is available for us in the church today.
That's right. Now, as we think about the church today, the whole healing issue can be kind of a really tricky business because you have some church traditions that say, well, that was for then, this is for now. At the same time, there are also other churches that are so heavily into it, they expect healing to always take place, and there's something wrong with you if God doesn't heal you at this particular time and place.
Right. If you don't have enough faith, if you had more faith, you would be healed.
Yeah. But obviously, we're in a church associated with the Christian and Missionary Alliance. We have healing as really part of some of our core dimensions and values, and a strong history in it. At the same time, a very balanced history compared to what some of the extremes might happen to be. We recognize, as James chapter 5 describes, there's a process by which the church is to engage in healing ministries. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that process begins by the person themselves recognizing their need, that there's a need for either physical healing or mental, emotional healing or spiritual healing. And that person is to really initiate the opportunity for the elders, the leaders of the church, to come around them, to pray for them, and to anoint them with oil.
And so that process for anointing by the elders of the church and by also the community of faith coming around those people as well and praying for them, that is the context in which healings occur in the context of the local church. And we've seen many people really helped substantially in their whatever maladies they might happen to have in that context. So this Sunday evening, we're going to have a healing service. People can come. There'll be a brief meditation on the scriptures, and then an opportunity for people to go to a location, or if they are unable to go there, they can simply raise their hand and elders will come around them, and they'll have a small group of elders. They'll be able to explain what their illness happens to be, and they'll be prayed for and anointed with oil. And the oil is nothing special or magical. It's just simply a representation of the movement of the Spirit of God in a person to bring about the health that will enable them to glorify the Lord and recognize His special touch in their lives. And we've done this on a number of occasions, and people really have been especially helped. It's a very encouraging evening, and whether someone has a particular illness or difficulty to pray about, they'll certainly want to come and pray for others.
Right, absolutely.
It's a community thing, isn't it?
Yeah, those that come who aren't necessarily coming for healing have the opportunity to pray with others that are there. They can be seated. There'll be some scripture usually up on the screen, things that will help us to focus on the Lord, but then be praying for the ministry that's going on right at that time.
Yeah. Well, that's, I think, a really good introduction, and so we hope that you'll be able to join us. Whatever experiences you have or have not had with respect to healing in the past, you would find this evening a very encouraging opportunity to come to the Lord and receive a special ministry of encouragement and a special touch of healing for you or for others. And we hope that you'll join us on this particular occasion as we have a healing service this coming Sunday evening.
And that will wrap things up for this Thursday, October 20th edition of Shell Point Today. On tomorrow's show, we will bring you more highlights from the Kaleidoscope concert, and we'll recap the top stories from this week. Thanks for joining us. I'm Rich Nation.
And I'm Mary Kay Grimaldi. On behalf of all of us here at Shell Point Television, we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.